Close your eyes, not to escape the world, but to enter the one where your fortune already exists. The world you see with your senses is not final. It is merely the echo of what you have believed to be true about yourself. You've been taught to chase, to struggle, to strive. But wealth does not respond to strain. It flows to the one who knows it is already theirs. Massive wealth is not a future event. It's not something coming from far away. It's already here, but only visible to the one who dares to live in the state of already having it. The receiving mode is not about passively waiting. It is an inner assumption, a quiet power, a deep breath that says, I am already provided for. When you dwell in the consciousness of wealth, life reshapes to match it. The phone call comes, the opportunity appears, the money flows, but only after you've received it in spirit first. You don't manifest wealth by begging for it. You manifest wealth by becoming it in mind. Are you worrying about when it will come? That's resistance. Are you watching your bank account for signs? That's fear. Both block the flow. But when you walk with quiet confidence, when you rise in the morning and carry yourself as one who has, not one who wants, you become a magnet to what is already yours. Stop asking how. The how is none of your concern. Your only task is to dwell in the end. See the home. Feel the abundance. Smile at the overflow. Let it be real inside of you before you ever hold it in your hand. When doubt creeps in, return to the state. Return to the inner wealth. Return to the knowing that all things respond to your self-concept. Massive wealth is not a miracle. It's a reflection. So, stay in receiving mode. Not by effort, not by force, but by calm acceptance that you are now the one who has. The shift is internal. The results are inevitable. Live as though it's already done, because it is. And soon your world will echo what you've dared to believe. Stay still. Stay faithful. Stay wealthy in your mind. The floodgates are opening, and this time it's not a trickle. It's massive. Everything you see around you began as a thought, an inner assumption, a quiet decision within someone's consciousness. The phone in your hand, the clothes you wear, the building you live in. Each of these was once an unseen idea, believed in before it ever took form. So it is with wealth. The money you seek, the success you envision, the prosperity you long to experience, they are not created by your hands first, but by wealth begins in the unseen. It does not arrive by chance, nor is it gifted only to the lucky. It is formed first in the invisible realm of belief and assumption. What you accept as true within yourself becomes the law by which your world operates. If you assume yourself poor, struggling, or overlooked, life will reflect that belief with precise accuracy. But if you begin to assume right now that you are already wealthy, already favored, already surrounded by abundance, you shift your entire world into alignment with that truth. The outer world is only a mirror. It reflects what you persistently assume to be true about yourself and your reality. You are not reacting to life, you are constantly projecting onto it. When you believe that you are broke, life offers evidence to confirm it. But when you dare to assume you are rich in spirit, in mind, in opportunity, and in resources, that assumption will shape your experiences and attract circumstances that match your belief. This is not about delusion, this is about dominion over your inner state. The truth is, your current reality is not the final authority. It's only the echo of your past thoughts, yesterday's assumptions, showing up in form. If you do not like what you see, do not argue with it, do not resist it. Simply change your assumption. Begin to walk as one who already has. Let your imagination become your workshop. See yourself signing the checks. Imagine the bank notifications arriving. Feel the ease of paying bills without concern. Picture the smile on your face as you receive what you once only hoped for. You must train your mind to feel the naturalness of wealth, even if your current reality says otherwise. And here's the key. Your assumption must be persisted in, not for a minute, not for a day, but until it becomes more real to you than your physical circumstances. You must embody it so fully that your mind accepts it as fact. And once your mind accepts it, life has no choice but to mirror it. Think of a person who walks with confidence. Why? Because somewhere within they assume they are worthy, powerful, attractive. That assumption changes their posture, their tone, the way the world responds to them. Wealth works the same way. When you assume yourself to be abundant, your energy changes. You speak differently, you walk into rooms differently. You stop doubting and start expecting. And life, seeing that expectation, delivers. Do not wait for outer proof to change your inner state. Reverse the flow. Inner first, outer second. You are the cause, your world is the effect. And wealth, being part of your world, must obey the law of assumption just like everything else. There is no need to chase or struggle. Just become inwardly the person who already has. The moment you do, the reality around you begins to rearrange itself to match your new self-concept. That is the secret few ever understand. You already are what you seek to be. Let the assumption take root. Let it live within you quietly but boldly. Feel the wealth, not as something you're trying to get, but as something you already are. And soon, what is true within will become undeniable without. Imagination is not child's play, nor is it mere fantasy. It is the very mechanism by which reality is shaped. Everything that now exists in your world began first as a vision, as an image in the mind of someone who dared to believe in the unseen. The same is true for your own life. The wealth, love, success, peace, and freedom you desire are not destinations to chase. They are realities to enter through imagination. Imagination is the bridge to possession. It allows you to experience a thing before it physically arrives, to embody the feeling of having it while it's still invisible. And this is no small act, it is the creative act. Because whatever you consistently imagine with emotion, with belief, with repetition, must eventually manifest in the physical world. Not because it's magic, but because imagination plants the seeds, and your world faithfully grows the fruit. You do not imagine for entertainment, you imagine to claim. You do not merely visualize, you enter into the state of having. When you imagine vividly, when you can see it, feel it, hear it, and know it, something begins to shift. The subconscious mind accepts the imagined scene as real, and it goes to work orchestrating everything needed to bring it about. But this is the crucial point. It must be done with feeling. Dry repetition means nothing. You could repeat affirmations all day and achieve little if they are not infused with belief and emotion. The world does not respond to words. It responds to states. The more real your imagined experience becomes to you, the more power it holds. If you can weep over a scene that hasn't yet happened, laugh at an outcome not yet seen, or feel the thrill of success before a single dollar hits your account, you are already living in the possession of that desire. And soon enough, the outer world must reflect it. Imagination gives you access to any life you choose. There are no limits in that inner realm. You are free to rewrite your story, to paint new pictures, to select new outcomes. And when those images are repeated with faith, they become your truth. You're not lying to yourself when you imagine wealth in the midst of lack. You are choosing the truth that will soon replace what is now only a shadow. The world will try to tell you to be realistic, but what they call realism is often just a repetition of yesterday's thinking. Your circumstances are not fixed. They are fluid, changeable, pliable, and it is your imagination that molds them. Every time you imagine the life you want and feel it as real, you are crossing the bridge from wanting to having. This is why daydreams are so powerful if directed. When you imagine yourself living in your dream home, traveling freely, surrounded by overflow, and you let yourself feel what that would be like, you are planting a new reality. You are reprogramming your mind, breaking the limits of the past and stepping into a new dimension of being. And it is not your job to worry about how it will happen. The bridge of incidents, the sequence of events that brings you to the physical realization, will form on its own. All you must do is walk across the bridge of imagination daily. Enter the scene, live the moment, dwell in the feeling, and then go about your day in peace, knowing that what is real within will soon be real without. Bring the wearies within will soon be real without. You already hold the power, not in your effort, not in your striving, but in your imagination. Use it not to escape life, but to create it. Imagine until it feels natural, and when it does, possession is not far behind. Because what you consistently and vividly imagine with feeling becomes the very world you walk into. The state of receiving is not noisy. It does not scream, plead, or chase. It does not rehearse long prayers or anxiously count the days. True receiving is quiet. It is still. It is a silent knowing, a deep, unwavering inner agreement that what you have asked for is already yours. There is no struggle in real faith, no panic, no desperation, only peace. Most people believe that asking over and over again shows devotion or desire, but repetition often reveals doubt. When you truly believe you have received, you stop asking and begin thanking. You shift from striving to stillness, from questioning to confidence. This is the posture of one who is in alignment with their answer, not someone waiting for it to come, but someone already walking in it. When a person orders a meal at a restaurant, they don't follow the waiter to the kitchen, begging the chef to prepare it. They don't stand by the door asking again and again if it will arrive. They sit, they talk, they enjoy the moment because they trust the system is working. The order has been placed, the request has been heard, and now it's just a matter of time. So it is with all things in your life. You've placed your order through your thoughts, your desires, your assumptions. The moment you felt it real in your imagination, the request was made. The moment you believed, it was done. But your job now is not to make it happen. It is to remain in the state of receiving, which means staying in agreement with the outcome. No resistance, no questioning, just calm acceptance. The mind loves to question timelines, to measure progress, to demand signs, but those are traps of the logical self. The receiving self does not entertain them. It simply knows. It knows that the unseen is more real than what the eyes can detect. It knows that if you persist in the assumption that it is already yours, the world must shift to reflect that truth. Think of a radio. If you want to hear a certain station, you don't complain that it's not playing. You don't ask why it's silent. You simply tune to the correct frequency, and the signal comes through. Receiving is about tuning yourself to the frequency of your desire. Feeling now what you would feel then. Acting now as you would act then. Being now who you would be then. This is not pretending, this is alignment. When you receive in spirit, the physical must follow. But if you return to worry, to begging, to frustration, you have stepped out of that state. You are no longer tuned in. The world responds to your inner stance. If you carry the energy of lack, it will reflect lack. If you carry the energy of abundance, it will reflect abundance. That's why stillness is so powerful, because stillness is not inactivity, it is spiritual confidence. It is the bold silence that knows the answer has already been dispatched. Every time you catch yourself wondering when or how, gently return to the knowing. Speak not to convince the world, but to affirm your own faith. It is done. I have it now. I live in the result. Let these be your silent thoughts as you go about your day. Receiving does not mean waiting. It means walking in the reality of the answered prayer before the evidence arrives. That is the secret. So stop begging, stop chasing, stop doubting, and instead receive. Let your heart rest in the unseen reality you have claimed. Let your mind be at peace, knowing that the seed has already been planted, and now in perfect silence, watch it grow. When you desire something deeply, whether it be wealth, love, health, or peace, the natural tendency of the human mind is to immediately ask, how will it happen? It wants to calculate, control, and predict every step. But that very question is the trap. It distracts you from the true work, which is to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. The how is not your part of the process. It belongs to the unseen forces, the divine intelligence that weaves together circumstances in ways far beyond your limited reasoning. Your job is singular. Live in the end. See only the final outcome. Feel it as real. Move as though it is already done. That is your responsibility. The rest, how it comes to pass, when it comes to pass, through whom or what means, must be left alone. If you try to interfere with the process by forcing solutions, you only step out of alignment with the very thing you're trying to attract. The end is the only thing that matters. When you live in the end, you dwell in the energy of completion. You are no longer grasping, no longer doubting, no longer attempting to manipulate reality. Instead, you have surrendered to the truth that what you desire already exists in the unseen and is finding its way into form. To live in the end is to walk in quiet confidence. It is to wake up each day knowing that things are unfolding perfectly, even if on the surface nothing seems to be changing. It is to trust that the bridge of incidents is forming, piece by piece, without your conscious effort. Like a puzzle being assembled in the dark, the right pieces are being connected while you sleep, while you rest, while you go about your day in peace. You do not need to chase connections, force opportunities, or constantly evaluate your progress. These are symptoms of fear, not faith. The moment you begin to wonder whether it's working, you've stepped out of the end and returned to the middle. But the middle is filled with uncertainty, and it robs you of your power. Stay in the end, and everything required will be summoned to meet you. Think of a traveler who knows their destination. They do not worry about each turn, every intersection, or every delay. They remain calm because the route is set. That is how you must move through life. Your desire is the destination. And as long as you stay emotionally and mentally aligned with that destination, the universe will guide your every step, even if you cannot see how. It may come through a conversation you didn't plan, an idea that drops into your mind unexpectedly, a detour that turns into a divine connection. These are not coincidences. These are the hidden hands of providence, moving on your behalf because you dared to believe the end was real. You don't have to do more. You have to believe more. The work is not in the outer world. It is in the inner world. Train yourself to return again and again to the feeling of already having. Whenever doubt knocks, answer with vision. Whenever impatience arises, respond with faith. You are not here to figure it out. You are here to see it done. Feel the money in your hands. Hear the words of love you long to receive. See yourself living the life you've imagined. And let the rest go. And the unseen forces are not blind. They are intelligent, responsive, and precise. But they respond not to anxiety, but to certainty. Not to control, but to surrender. So, detach from the how. Stop interfering with what is already on its way. Anchor yourself in the end and let the infinite intelligence arrange every detail. When you live in the end, life will rise to meet you there. Delay does not mean denial. It is not punishment, nor is it the universe withholding from you. Delay is simply a mirror, a reflection of the conversation still happening within your own mind. If wealth seems slow in coming, it is not because you are cursed or forgotten or unworthy. It is because some part of you is still entertaining the idea that lack might be more real than abundance. Your inner state is still negotiating, still wavering between two beliefs. I am rich and I hope I become rich. And where there is double-mindedness, there is delay. The outer world is precise. It doesn't bring what you wish for, it brings what you are. And if your dominant inner feeling is uncertainty, fear, or desperation, your reality will respond accordingly. But this is not bad news, it is divine feedback. Delay is not working against you, it is revealing to you what still needs to be shifted inside. Most people, when faced with delay, try harder on the outside. They work more, chase more, beg more, and try to force manifestation into form. But the real solution is not outer effort. It is inner realignment. You must examine what you are truly believing and feeling. You must ask, am I living in the state of wealth or merely visiting it in moments of hope? Realignment is the remedy. You do not fight the delay, you use it. You let it show you where you've been unconsciously holding on to stories of limitation. Perhaps inherited beliefs about money being hard to earn, or guilt about wanting more, or fear that wealth will not stay. These internal stories are subtle, but they are powerful. They shape your emotional tone, and your emotional tone is what sets the stage for what appears in your life. To realign is not to strive, it is to return. Return to the end. Return to the version of yourself who already has. Delay loses all power the moment you shift into certainty. When you say, I am already provided for, and you feel the truth of that, the outer world has no choice but to match it. The mirror changes when you change your reflection. Think of delay as a gentle teacher. It is not saying no, it is saying not yet. Not until your inner atmosphere can sustain what you've asked for. Because life is not interested in giving you what will overwhelm you or be destroyed by your own disbelief. It will wait until you are fully convinced. Not outwardly, but inwardly. Not in words, but in vibration. So instead of cursing the delay, bless it. Let it prompt you to become more intentional with your thoughts. Let it call you deeper into the feeling of having. Let it strip away every lingering doubt and refine your state of being. Because when the inner work is complete, the outer manifestation must come. You are not waiting on money, money is waiting on you. To align, to allow, to accept. The moment you stop negotiating with lack, the moment you stop asking, where is it? And start saying, it is done, the energy shifts and the delay ends. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to be persistent. Keep returning to the state of the wish fulfilled. Keep choosing wealth in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your assumptions. Live as though it's already here, and it will arrive faster than you expect. Delay is never denial. It is direction. It is redirection. It is an invitation to strengthen your foundation so that when the blessing comes, you are ready to hold it with peace. Change your state, and the mirror will change. Faith is not a fleeting hope or a wish made in desperation. True faith is persistent. It stands firm even when the outer world appears unchanged. It does not flinch at delay, nor does it retreat in the face of contradiction. Persistent faith holds the vision of the desired outcome so steadily, so consistently, that reality itself must bend and reshape to match it. To feel rich now, even when your bank account is empty, is not delusion, it is creation. It is the conscious choice to live from a higher truth than what the senses currently report. Your outer world is not fixed, it is fluid. It is clay, responding moment by moment to the dominant feelings, beliefs, and assumptions you hold within. And faith, persistent, unwavering faith, is the hand that molds that clay. Most people only believe what they can see, but those who understand the deeper laws of life know the opposite is true. You see what you first believe. What appears in your world today is a product of past thoughts, past emotions, past assumptions. If you want something different tomorrow, you must feel something different now. This is where the power of persistent faith comes in. It is not about forcing or faking, it is about dwelling in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, regardless of appearances. If you want to experience wealth, you must begin to feel wealthy now. Not someday, not after the evidence arrives, but now. Because the moment you feel it and persist in that feeling, you are changing your inner state. And when the inner state changes, the outer world must follow. This is not instant, but it is inevitable. The world is faithful to reflect your belief, but only after it has become stable, solid, and dominant within you. If you vacillate between faith and fear, between knowing and doubting, your results will be unstable. But if you persist, quietly, calmly, steadily, reality will conform. This is why it's said that you walk by faith, not by sight. You are not ruled by the numbers, by the reports, by the temporary shadows of the present. You are ruled by the unseen substance of what you believe and feel. When you remain faithful to the end you have chosen, when you return to it over and over again with love and conviction, you give life to that vision. You breathe it into form. Faith rewrites reality, not through effort, but through embodiment. When you feel rich, you act differently. You speak differently. You think in terms of abundance, not limitation. You make decisions from expansion, not fear. And these small inner and outer shifts become the stepping stones toward the world you have imagined. It's easy to have faith when things are going well. But persistent faith is forged in silence, in solitude, in the space between the asking and the receiving. It is in those moments when nothing seems to be happening that you must decide what you believe. Will you bow to the temporary, or will you stand in the eternal truth of your imagination? You are always creating. The question is, are you creating by default, reacting to the world, or are you creating by design, persisting in the unseen until it becomes seen? Faith is the bridge. It connects where you are to where you desire to be. And as long as you hold the vision, refuse to let go, and feel its truth deep in your body, reality will have no choice but to catch up. So do not be swayed by current evidence. What you see now is not permanent. It is merely the echo of old thoughts. Begin today to feel rich, to move in abundance, to speak with certainty. Let that be your new inner rhythm. And as you persist, reality will yield. Because persistent faith always rewrites the world. Massive wealth is not a distant dream. It is already forming in the unseen, responding to your inner world. When you assume abundance, imagine vividly, receive silently, detach from the how, learn from delays, and persist in unwavering faith, you step into the realm where the impossible becomes inevitable. Your job is not to strive, but to align. Live in the end. Feel it as real. Walk as though it's already done. The universe is not waiting for effort. It is waiting for your agreement. Stay in receiving mode. and what is yours by divine design will find its way to you with precision and power. Say thanks. Thank you for allowing these words to find their way into your spirit. May they remind you of who you are and what already belongs to you. Walk forward not with fear but with knowing. The wealth is already yours. Just receive it. There comes a moment on this journey when you feel nothing. No excitement, no signs, no stirring in your heart. It is still, silent, lifeless. And yet, that is when everything is moving. You have assumed your desire, you have claimed your end, and now you stand in the stillness, wondering if anything is happening at all. But listen closely. This silence is not a void. It is sacred. The world around you may appear unmoved. Your emotions may feel dry, but the universe is not idle. The silence is the sound of invisible things falling into place. You are not creating through emotions. You are creating through states. And once you enter the state of the wish fulfilled, your outer senses become irrelevant. You may not feel happy, you may not feel powerful, you may not feel anything, and yet, if you remain in the state that it is already yours, the law is working for you, regardless of how you feel. Just as the seed in the earth does not scream or shine while growing, your manifestation begins in the unseen, in the deep. There is movement beneath what appears still. This is where most give up. They feel nothing and assume nothing is happening. But I say trust the unseen, trust the stillness. Because the moment you made the assumption, the moment you dared to say it is done, the bridge of incidents was already being built. You may not hear footsteps, but something is walking toward you. You may not see the light, but the sun has already risen. It just hasn't reached your window yet. Do not chase emotion. Chase your state. Let the world around you play its part. It does not need your panic, your worry, or your questions. It needs your knowing. Remain faithful to your end, even when the beginning feels empty. You are not forgotten. You are not off track. You are in the middle of movement, disguised as stillness. So when you feel nothing, trust. Trust that all is moving, and soon you will see what has already begun. When you feel nothing, when your world is still and silent, it may seem like life has paused, like your prayers went unheard, your assumptions unanswered. But this silence is not a void to fear. It is sacred. It is the very evidence that something greater is unfolding beyond what your senses can perceive. It is the moment when the unseen is doing its greatest work. So many give up in the silence. They expect instant results, loud confirmations, and emotional highs to validate their faith. But true creation does not begin in noise. It begins in stillness. The absence of feeling is not the absence of progress. It is the still point from which all things begin to shift. Just as a seed must lie in the darkness of the soil before it ever touches sunlight, so too must your desire move through the unseen before it manifests into form. You are not meant to feel something all the time. You are not required to constantly sense motion to know that the wheels of creation are turning. The stillness you encounter after assuming your desire is done is not proof that nothing is happening. It is proof that everything is happening exactly as it should. This is the resting point of faith. This is where trust is born. The inner world speaks in silence. It speaks in impressions, not noise. The moment you imagined the end, the moment you dared to dwell in the state of your fulfilled desire, the process began. It is not your job to dig up the seed to check if it's growing. It is not your duty to stir the pot just to see if the ingredients are cooking. Your only task is to rest in the knowing, to honor the sacred silence as a sign that your word has been taken seriously. Creation is always subtle before it is obvious. The forces that shape your life do not shout. They do not demand attention. They move quietly, perfectly, with purpose. The silence you feel is a holy confirmation that you have released your intention, and now the unseen world is aligning all things to meet you. Do not interpret the silence as rejection. Interpret it as alignment. Do not measure your progress by how emotional you feel. Measure it by how deeply you can rest in your assumption without wavering. Stillness is not your enemy. It is the sacred womb of transformation. You are not being ignored. You are being prepared. The universe is arranging the perfect sequence of events. The people, places, and moments are all lining up, beyond your vision, but not beyond your belief. So trust it. Sit with the silence. Know that the most powerful movements begin without sound. When you feel nothing, something is happening, and that something is everything. Let it move quietly. Let it unfold divinely. And let your only job be this: to know that it is done. It is a common misconception that you must feel excited, joyful, or emotionally charged to create your reality. That somehow, if you don't feel elated or moved, nothing will shift. But this is not how creation works. It is not fleeting emotions that shape your world. It is the state of consciousness you consistently dwell in. You could feel absolutely nothing emotionally, and yet if you are resting in the right state, life will conform to that inner assumption without fail. Emotions are temporary. They rise and fall like waves. One moment you're uplifted, the next you feel low. They are responses, not creators. But your state of consciousness, that silent, persistent awareness of who you are and what you have, remains even when emotions are absent. And it is this state that creation listens to. It is this inner posture that dictates what shows up in your outer world. You do not manifest from excitement. You manifest from identity. If you have assumed the state of being wealthy or loved or healed, it doesn't matter whether you feel giddy or flat. The assumption itself carries the creative power. When you truly occupy the state of the wish fulfilled, your body may feel nothing, but your life will start to reflect everything. There are days you may feel disconnected or emotionally numb, and you might think, I've lost my alignment. But you haven't. You only lose power when you step out of the state and begin to believe in appearances more than the unseen. Emotional numbness is not resistance. It's simply the mind quieting down. And in that quiet, your assumption still echoes. It still builds. It still attracts. Creation is not an emotional game. It's a state game. The state is the root. The emotions are often just the leaves. Don't chase emotional highs, thinking they will manifest your desire. Chase clarity of assumption. Dwell in the identity that matches your desire, and whether you feel blissful or bored, it will take shape. Think of a thermostat. You set it to a desired temperature, and the system works toward it regardless of how you feel about it. Your state is the thermostat of your life. When it's set, your external world adjusts, even if you feel nothing as it shifts. You don't need to feel fireworks, just faith. So many quit because they don't feel it anymore, but they are looking in the wrong place. Emotions may not always accompany change, but state always precedes it. When you assume a thing is yours, and you no longer obsess over when or how, what you've done is sink into the state. You've become it. And life always outpictures who you are being. So rest, even if you feel numb, even if today feels empty, if you are living in the knowing that it is done, it is being done. The world must yield to the state you occupy. You don't need a feeling, you need a state. And once the state is yours, the world will follow. The greatest turning point in your life begins with a single quiet act, assumption. When you assume your desire is already fulfilled, when you dare to live in the end as if it were real, you set in motion an invisible chain of events. This bridge of incidents, as it unfolds, may look ordinary or unrelated, but it is sacred. It is designed to lead you directly to the manifestation of what you claimed in consciousness. And the most important part, once you assume, you must let go. Letting go does not mean forgetting the desire. It means releasing the need to force it, question it, or doubt it. It is the surrender of effort, not of belief. When you let go, you trust that the assumption has been received. You trust that the process has begun, whether you feel anything or not, whether the outer world reflects it yet or not. Many assume, but then immediately look for proof. They scan their reality for signs, asking, where is it? Why isn't it here yet? But this is not letting go. That is fear disguised as curiosity. True letting go is inner peace. It's the quiet confidence that if you've imagined it with conviction, it's already done in the unseen. You are not the orchestrator of the how, you are the imaginer of the what. The bridge of incidents is not your concern. It is handled by something deeper, something wiser. Your job is to occupy the state of the wish fulfilled and then move through the world as one who already has it. When you assume and then let go, you become magnetic. You stop chasing and start attracting. Life bends around your new identity, delivering people, opportunities, ideas, and changes that you never could have planned. And often these incidents seem unrelated at first, but they are not. They are perfectly placed stepping stones leading you to the inevitable. You must not be fooled by your five senses. They are limited. They cannot see the full picture. If you rely on appearances, you will waver, you will question, you will delay your own unfolding. But if you rest in your assumption and walk through life with calm expectation, the path will form beneath your feet. This is the essence of true manifestation. Assume, then let go. Don't overwater the seed. Don't keep digging it up to check for roots. Trust that your inner world creates the outer. Trust that the law responds not to desperation, but to certainty. There is immense power in quiet conviction. There is a sacred rhythm in letting go after assuming. You no longer need to beg, plead, or strive. You have already claimed it. You have already become it, and life must mirror that back to you, faithfully, consistently, inevitably. So assume it is done, let go, and watch as the bridge of incidents unfolds, not by your force, but by your faith. What you cannot see is often more powerful than what you can. Beneath the surface of your life, beyond the reach of your physical senses, a silent orchestration is taking place. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean there is any. The invisible is always working. Creation begins in the unseen. Like seeds planted beneath the soil, your assumptions, imaginations, and inner beliefs lie beneath the surface, hidden but not inactive. The soil may look undisturbed, days may pass with no visible change, but beneath that quiet exterior something extraordinary is happening. Life is moving, growth is taking place. The seed is pushing, forming roots, drawing nutrients and preparing to break through. So it is with your manifestations. Many people get discouraged when nothing seems to change on the outside. They believe their desire has been ignored, forgotten, or lost. But that belief comes from judging by appearances. It comes from misunderstanding the nature of reality. The invisible is the root. The visible is the fruit. All that appears began first in what is unseen. When you dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, your desire is planted. It is placed in the fertile soil of consciousness, and from that moment forward it begins to grow. It may not show up instantly in the outer world, but that does not mean nothing is happening. The invisible world is not delayed. It is precise. It knows exactly when and how to deliver. The problem is, most people dig up the seed too early. They look at the surface and say, "There's nothing there," and abandon their assumption. They declare it dead when it was just beginning. The invisible does not cater to your impatience. It answers your faith. The moment you trust that something is unfolding, you align with the very force that brings it forward. Think of how nature works. You do not plant a seed and then panic the next day when you don't see a sprout. You trust the process. You water it, you give it light, you believe in what's happening beneath the soil. Manifestation is no different. What you claim within begins to move in silence. What you accept as true in the unseen. So don't rush the process. Don't be fooled by the stillness. That quiet moment where nothing looks different is often when everything is changing. Your job is not to make it happen. It is to remain faithful to the seed you planted. Keep walking in the assumption that it is done. Keep living in the end, even when the beginning seems unchanged. The invisible is working. It always is. It is rearranging, unfolding, aligning. Trust it. Honor it. Speak as if your desire has already arrived, because in truth it has. It just hasn't reached the surface yet. Just like the seed, your manifestation is alive, still hidden, still moving, still destined to bloom. There are moments when silence feels heavy, when time stretches out and nothing in your outer world seems to change. In those moments, it's easy to believe you've been forgotten, that your prayer, your assumption, your deep inner longing has been ignored or lost in the vastness of life. But you have not been forgotten, not by the universe, not by the unseen power that governs all creation. What you have claimed in consciousness has been heard, and it is already in motion. The truth is simple and unwavering. The law never forgets. The moment you assumed your desire to be true, the process of fulfillment began. It may not be immediate to your senses, and it may not come with thunder or signs, but it is working, quietly, precisely, faithfully. Your job was never to force the manifestation into existence. Your only task was to assume its reality, to embody the end, and to rest in the knowledge that what is claimed within must be expressed without. But when the days grow long, and no visible movement appears, doubt creeps in. You begin to question whether you were heard, whether you did it right, whether the universe even noticed your desire at all. But the creative law is perfect. It does not operate on chance, emotion, or noise. It responds only to your inner state. And once a thing is claimed in consciousness, fully, clearly, and without contradiction, it cannot go unanswered. It is impossible for it to be forgotten. Think of a letter placed into the post. Once it's sent, it begins its journey. You do not stand at the mailbox and scream, "Why hasn't it arrived yet?" You know it's in transit. You trust the system. And so it is with your assumption. Once made, it is moving. The bridge of incidents begins to form. People begin to shift. Circumstances bend. Time rearranges itself to meet your inner vision. Do not confuse delay with denial. The universe does not rush, but it never fails. Sometimes what feels like silence is actually protection, preparation, or precise alignment. Sometimes what looks like a pause is the calm before perfect timing. But make no mistake, nothing you have imagined with belief is lost. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible to the creative power. The law remembers every word spoken in belief, every assumption held in faith, every vision that you dare to call real. It is recorded in the silence of your consciousness, and it unfolds at the appointed hour. So rest. Even when you feel nothing, even when the world seems unchanged, rest in the knowing that what you claimed is already yours, and the universe has not overlooked it. Keep walking in your assumed end, knowing that it is remembered, honored, and being made manifest perfectly. You were heard, you were seen, you were answered, you are not forgotten. Persistence in the face of silence is one of the highest expressions of faith. When the world offers no proof, when no doors seem to open, and when your senses report nothing but stillness, most people retreat. They abandon the vision, thinking it was all for nothing. But this is where the true creator is separated from the dreamer. The key is persistence, holding firm to your assumption even when there is no visible evidence to support it. It is easy to believe when everything aligns, when signs appear, and when results come quickly. But that kind of belief requires no strength. True manifestation lies in your ability to persist in the unseen, to keep imagining, feeling, and knowing that it is done, even when all signs suggest otherwise. This unwavering inner vision is what bends reality. The outer world may delay in reflecting your desire, but the law is already working on your behalf the moment you claimed it in consciousness. The universe does not need external proof to respond to your inner world. It is not activated by emotion or time, it is activated by identity. When you assume a thing is yours, when you feel it to be true and persist in that assumption without letting go, you lock yourself into the state that brings it forth. And the longer you remain faithful to that inner vision, the faster the outer world must comply. The challenge is always the same. Will you persist when nothing seems to be happening? Will you hold your ground when doubt whispers, when people question, and when time stretches on? If you can, you will see miracles. Because the unseen does not respond to your anxiety or your timelines, it responds to the sustained state of being, the inner atmosphere you live in day after day. Creation is not about getting what you want through force or desperation. It is about being what you want in consciousness, and remaining in that state long enough for the outer world to mirror it. The invisible realm is highly sensitive to persistence. Every time you return to the end, every time you ignore appearances and choose to believe it is done, you strengthen the blueprint of your reality. Many quit just before the shift. They abandon their assumption because they mistake silence for failure. But silence is often a sign that the foundation is settling, that something is stabilizing in the unseen. Your persistence is the bridge that carries you from the invisible to the visible. Do not be fooled by what your eyes see. Do not let temporary delays shake your inner conviction. Stay, persist, keep imagining the outcome you desire. Walk in it, feel it, speak from it, live in it. It's because the unseen is always listening. It responds to the one who refuses to let go of the vision, and when you persist without needing evidence, you declare to the universe, "This is who I am. This is what is mine." And the universe must respond in kind. So now you understand, your emotions are not the source of creation. Your state is. When you feel nothing, it does not mean that nothing is happening. In fact, it often means that everything is falling perfectly into place. The silence you feel is not the absence of progress, it is the sacred pause where the unseen goes to work. It is in that quiet space that your assumption is honored, your desire is nurtured, and the bridge of incidence is built. You don't need to chase signs or force feelings, you only need to remain faithful to the end you've imagined. You must trust that once the assumption is made, the universe remembers, even when you don't feel it. All is moving, all is responding, all is aligned. So relax, stay still within, walk with the quiet knowing that what you claimed in consciousness is already yours. No matter how ordinary the world looks, understand this truth: the unseen never forgets. And if you persist in your inner vision, your outer reality must catch up. Thank you, message. Thank you for watching and allowing these words to remind you of your inner power. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stay in your vision, keep trusting, and remember, even in the silence, you are being heard. There comes a moment in every life where the noise fades. Prayers seem unanswered, doors appear closed, the phone doesn't ring, the signs vanish, and in that sacred quiet, panic tries to rise. But I want to tell you something eternal and unshakable. When you hear nothing, it means everything is changing. You may think nothing is happening, but that is never true. In the silence, reality is being rewritten. That which you imagined, assumed, and accepted as true has already begun its movement. But it does not scream. It does not beg for attention. It simply is. All true creation happens in the stillness. The earth does not shake every time a seed breaks beneath the ground. The wound does not shout when life begins to form. And your world does not always make noise when it is rearranging itself. This silence is not punishment, it is process. You asked, you imagined, you believed. Now the silence is your sign. It's the evidence that the invisible is working harder than the visible can show. Most people get restless here. They try to force it. They dig up the seed too early, looking for proof. But those who understand the power within them, they rest. They smile in the silence. They know. You don't hear back from the world when you've already impressed the desire upon it. It's like sending out a signal to the universe. Once it's received, it goes quiet, because it is now obeying. And obedience looks like silence. Obedience looks like stillness. Obedience looks like nothing, but it is everything. So if you're in a place right now where nothing seems to be moving, where the silence is louder than any sign, don't you dare give up. Instead say, yes, everything is changing now. I'm right where I need to be. Because you are. This silence is sacred. This silence is evidence. This silence is transformation. Keep the faith, not by doing more, but by doing nothing to disturb the knowing. You imagined it, you accepted it, you became it. Now let the silence deliver it. When life becomes quiet, the mind often interprets it as a sign that nothing is happening. We've been conditioned to equate progress with motion, breakthroughs with noise, and success with activity. So when everything grows still, when the calls stop coming, the results don't show up, and the world around us seems paused, we begin to panic. The silence feels unbearable. But what if I told you that silence is not absence, but arrival in disguise? Silence is not the void. It is the space where divine order is rearranging itself to match your inner world. When you decide to assume something new about yourself, whether it's prosperity, love, health, or peace, you plant a seed. That seed isn't meant to grow in chaos. It grows in quiet. And during that quiet, everything you once knew, every structure that held your previous identity, begins to shift, not in ways you can always see, not in ways the outer world celebrates, but deeply, silently, surely. It's in these moments of silence that the greatest rearrangements take place. Just like a caterpillar enters the cocoon and becomes still, the transformation is unseen, but not undone. The world would think the caterpillar has stopped living, but something miraculous is happening in that hush. The same is true when your life grows still. Your assumptions, once firmly planted, begin to draw unto themselves all that aligns. Circumstances shift, people move, timelines adjust. But you don't hear any of this. To your physical senses, it appears as if you're stuck. But in truth, you're not stuck. You're settling into alignment. What you call silence is not rejection. It's a divine reshuffling. The path you used to walk may close not because it's wrong, but because something more aligned is being paved ahead. The people who drift away are not abandoning you, but making space for new connections. The job that doesn't call back is not delay, it's displacement. You're being relocated into a version of life that fits your inner image. And here's the mistake most make. In the silence, they break their focus. They stop believing. They let doubt creep in and dig up the seed before it blooms. They think the silence is proof that nothing is working, but it is the opposite. When all seems still, that's the time to go deeper within. That's the time to praise the silence, to become grateful for the stillness, to know without seeing that something is moving, something is forming, something is already yours. You don't rearrange a room without silence. You don't build a new foundation with the crowd shouting around you. And you do not manifest the life you've imagined through noise. It's in the still, quiet space where the real magic happens. Your assumption, when fully accepted as true, does not shout. It settles. And in its settled state, the whole universe moves to reflect it. So the next time you hear nothing, feel nothing, and see nothing, rejoice. That silence is not a void. It is the sound of the old falling away and the new being born. That quiet is not punishment. It is confirmation. Something unseen is aligning with what you've imagined. It may be silent now, but your world is shifting behind the curtain. The rearrangement has already begun. There comes a time in your inner journey when you no longer feel the need to prove your worth, explain your dreams, or chase what you once believed was running away from you. You stop writing long messages trying to convince others of your value. You stop waiting for a response that validates your existence. You stop performing for a world that never really noticed the real you. And in that sacred stillness, something profound happens. The world around you grows quiet. This outer silence is not emptiness. It's not loneliness. It's not loss. It is reflection. It is evidence that you have entered into a state of inner fulfillment. You no longer seek outside confirmation because you finally found it within. And the moment you reach that level of quiet self-assurance, the noise of the world fades. You see, the world echoes back to you what you believe to be true. When you walk in insecurity, life mirrors chaos, rejection, and confusion. When you carry desperation, life presents endless obstacles to show you how far away your desire seems. But when you become full inside, when you know who you are, and what is already yours, the external has no more job to do. It becomes still, because it is now aligning. That's why outer silence is not a sign of delay, it's a sign of delivery. The desire has been accepted, the mental work is complete, the emotion has been impressed. You are no longer looking to the world to grant you what you already carry. You've stopped begging for change because you've become the change. The irony is, most people misunderstand this stage. They think something's gone wrong because they don't see results, they don't hear updates or receive recognition. But this quiet is not the absence of movement. It's the moment before arrival. It is the silence of certainty, the peace of possession, the pause before manifestation becomes visible. When a person is truly fulfilled within, they do not react to what the world shows. They do not beg for love. They become love. They do not chase after money. They walk as if wealth is already theirs. They don't try to force attention. They are too grounded to need it. This inner richness changes everything. The world begins to reorganize itself not because you fought for it, but because you no longer need to. And in this state, reality becomes pliable. It bends to your belief. Not because you scream louder than others, but because your quiet conviction carried more power than any outward noise ever could. The world responds to the energy you radiate when you know deep down that you are complete, that you are worthy, that what you desire is not coming, it already exists within you. Possibility exists within you. So when everything gets quiet, when the world stops pressing against you, don't misinterpret the silence. That silence is respect. It's alignment. It's the sound of reality bowing to the strength of your inner knowing. You are no longer seeking, you are now receiving. And in this space of fulfillment, the universe meets you where you are. Not where you begged from, but where you believed from. Let the quiet be your confirmation. You have finally become what you once chased. There is a sacred moment in every creation when all seems still, when nothing moves, no signs appear, and everything feels suspended in time. This is the void before the birth. It is not a place of absence, but of preparation. It is not emptiness, but incubation. Most misunderstand this quiet phase and label it as delay or denial. But in truth, the void is the very proof that something powerful is forming. Just as a child grows in the womb without the world seeing, your desires also grow in the hidden places of consciousness. And just like the mother who does not doubt the child because she cannot see it, you too must learn to trust the unseen. For every desire that is truly accepted as real must pass through the silence before it is born. The world has taught us to fear stillness. We are told that if there's no activity, we are failing. If we cannot see it, it's not working. But nothing could be further from the truth. The moment you plant a seed, the soil goes silent. There is no sound to its growth, no applause for its progress. Yet beneath the surface, life is stirring. Roots are forming, structure is being built, and in perfect time, it breaks through and becomes visible. The same applies to the life you are creating. When you dare to believe in something greater, whether it's love, healing, wealth, or peace, there will come a time after the assumption is made when all goes quiet. This is not the moment to retreat in fear. This is not the time to question your belief. This is the moment to rest in the knowing that creation always takes place in the dark. Like the hush before dawn, the void is a signal that the light is on its way. The sky does not shout when the sun rises. It simply transitions quietly, beautifully. And so does your reality. The void is a holy space. It is the threshold between your inner world and your outer world. It is where the seen and the unseen meet and merge. You must not rush this part of the journey. You must not call it failure simply because it does not look how you expected. What you imagined is being formed right now in silence. And if you can resist the urge to interfere, if you can stand still in your belief, it will come forth in a way that is far beyond your comprehension. You see, the void is not meant to scare you. It is meant to prepare you. It is the space where your old self is shed and your new self is born. It is the hallway between what was and what is becoming. And only those who can walk through it without panic, will inherit the fullness of their vision. So when you find yourself in that quiet place, do not run, do not question, do not try to force. Simply understand. This is the void before the birth, and just beyond it, what you've imagined is waiting to be seen. There is a moment in the creative process where all effort ceases, not because you've given up, but because something sacred has already occurred. You've imagined it, you felt it, you've accepted it as real. In that moment, the command is issued, not outwardly, not to other people, but inwardly, to the only true source of power, your own consciousness. And once that command is given, there is no need to speak again. Your imagination has already spoken. What follows is often misunderstood. The world grows quiet. No obvious signs appear. The desire doesn't instantly materialize. And for many, that silence is misread as failure. But this silence is not a void. It is obedience. The outer world is now rearranging, adjusting, aligning itself to match the command that has already been given from within. It may appear as though nothing is happening, but in truth, everything is in motion. You are not waiting for the world to decide if you're worthy. You are not hoping someone else will make a choice in your favor. Once the image has been firmly impressed upon your inner self, your work is complete. The silence that follows is not passive. It is sacred. It's the stillness that always comes before birth. Just as the soil says nothing after receiving the seed, your outer world goes quiet after receiving the command from within. But here lies the challenge. The mind grows restless in silence. It seeks validation. It wants signs. It wants movement. And yet the moment you go looking, doubting, questioning, you begin to disrupt the very process you initiated. You don't need to keep repeating what you've already accepted. The power lies not in repetition, but in assumption. In living from the end, in acting and feeling as though what you imagined is already true. When a person truly accepts something within, they stop begging for it outwardly. They no longer chase it. They no longer ask, where is it? Because they know it's already theirs. Their state of being changes, and it is this state, not their words, not their effort, that reshapes their outer world. Reality is always responding to you, but it responds to your inner state, not your outer effort. And once you've imagined something clearly and accepted it emotionally, your reality begins to shift in response. The silence is just the delay between the invisible becoming visible. Like a letter already mailed, your message has been sent. There is no need to resend it. It is on its way. So the question is not why is it taking so long, but am I willing to rest in the knowing that it's already done? The most powerful people are not the loudest. They are the quietest. Not because they lack desire, but because they know the desire is already fulfilled. Your imagination is not just fantasy, it is instruction. It is the creative act. Once it speaks with authority and conviction, reality has no choice but to comply. So when you hear nothing, feel nothing, and see nothing, remind yourself, my imagination has already spoken, and now reality must answer. There is a sacred process that begins the moment you declare something to be true within yourself. You imagine the life you desire. You feel it as real. You rest in the assumption that what you have claimed already exists. This is creation. Not through effort, not through struggle, but through alignment. Yet after this internal work is done, many fall into the trap of interference. They begin to watch, to wait, to measure the world anxiously, wondering why nothing seems to be moving. But here lies the truth. When nothing appears to be happening, the most powerful thing you can do is rest in faith. Creation is not born out of constant doing. It emerges from the stillness of knowing. The moment you interfere, The moment you begin trying to force results, control outcomes, or seek validation through signs, you weaken the seed already planted within. You dig it up before it takes root. The process is perfect. It does not need your help, only your belief. Doubt is subtle. It does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers questions. What if it's not working? What if I need to do more? These thoughts seem innocent, even responsible. But they come from a place of fear, not faith. They come from a belief that the power lies outside of you, that manifestation is dependent on action alone. But true creation doesn't operate that way. When you planted the idea, when you imagined it clearly and accepted it fully, the process began. The rearrangement of your reality was set in motion. You don't need to push it. You don't need to chase. You simply need to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. Every time you question, you delay. Every time you beg, you reinforce lack. But when you stand still in knowing, you confirm the truth of your inner command. Faith is not passive. It is powerful. It is the decision to trust the invisible. It is the willingness to rest when your senses scream otherwise. You may not see evidence immediately. You may not feel momentum. But that is the very nature of transformation. Like the silence before dawn, the stillness before birth, there is always a pause, a gap between the inner declaration and the outer manifestation. You must not mistake this gap for failure. You must not interrupt the process by falling back into your old assumptions. You've already spoken it into being. Now allow it to unfold. Trust that it is working even when nothing seems to move. That is the true test. That is the proving ground of belief. Let patience become your strength. Let your stillness be louder than any sign. When you feel the urge to fix, to push, to question, pause. Return to the end you imagined. Feel it again. Know it is yours. And then release it once more. Do not interrupt the process with fear when you started it with faith. Your only task is to maintain the inner conviction that what you have imagined is not only possible, it is inevitable. Trust the silence, respect the stillness, and above all, do not interfere. Creation is already in motion. There comes a moment in every journey when you release the desire, when you no longer hold it with anxious hands, but instead with quiet certainty. You see it clearly in your imagination, you feel it as real, you accept it as done, and in that very moment, you are heard. Not by the world, not by people, not by chance, but by the power that shapes all reality. Once the desired is impressed upon your inner self, the process begins. The command is received, and everything starts to move in response. But what follows next often confuses many. Nothing seems to change. No sign, no shift, no confirmation. The world grows quiet. And because we've been conditioned to equate movement with progress, we start to doubt. We wonder if we were heard at all. We ask questions. We look for proof. But in truth, this silence is not absence, it is alignment. When you can't see anything, it doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is being set in place. The people, the timing, the circumstances, all are being adjusted to match the state you've already accepted as true. You are not waiting in the dark, you are being positioned in the light of fulfillment. But it requires trust, it requires stillness. Most people, in the face of this quiet, fall back into the old self. They panic. They shift their assumptions. They try to speak louder, act faster, or think harder. But that is not power. That is interference. The true power lies in the ability to remain still once you've been heard. Not passive stillness, but knowing stillness. The kind that speaks louder than action. The kind that rests because it knows. There's a sacred rhythm to manifestation. Desire, assumption, fulfillment. But between assumption and fulfillment, there is always a gap, a holy pause. That is the moment you must master. That space is where most give up. But those who endure in stillness receive what they have imagined. Let the silence confirm, not confuse. It is there to show you that nothing more is needed from you. You've already done the work. You imagined, you believed, you accepted. That was the planting of the seed. Now the soil is doing what it always does. Quietly, invisibly, faithfully. There is no need to watch the ground every hour to see if it's growing. It is. Just because you don't hear the wind doesn't mean the air isn't moving. Just because you don't see results doesn't mean creation isn't underway. You must train yourself to trust the unseen more than the seen. That is where real transformation takes place. You've been heard, and being heard by your inner self, by that creative power within you, is all that matters. Now your task is to be still, to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled, to walk as though it is already so. The silence is not the enemy, it is the companion of manifestation. It is the evidence that the outer world is catching up to your inner truth. So breathe, rest, trust. You've already been heard. Now be still and let it come. When life falls silent, when there are no signs, no answers, no visible changes, it's not because nothing is happening. It's because everything is aligning. The silence is not your enemy, it is your confirmation. Every desire you've impressed upon your inner world is being honored. The quiet is not rejection. It is the sacred space where the invisible becomes visible. Your task is not to force, beg, or chase. Your task is to remain still, to trust, and to live from the end. You've already imagined it. You've already been heard. Now let the silence do what it was designed to do. Deliver. Way to say thanks. In Neville Goddard's truths. May you walk forward, not with striving, but with knowing. May you rest, not because you've given up, but because you now understand. What you desire is already yours. Remain still and let it come. There comes a moment in every life when the silence is deafening. You've prayed, you've imagined, you've felt it real, and yet nothing. But I tell you now, do not mistake silence for denial. When the senses go quiet, it is not because heaven has turned its back. No, it is because heaven is preparing your miracle in sacred stillness. God is not noisy. God moves beneath the surface. The absence of sound is not the absence of movement. When you hear nothing, that is the moment you must expect everything. Close your eyes for a moment. What have you asked for? Love, wealth, healing, peace. If you've dared to see it in your imagination, if you felt it in your bones as already yours, then it is done. Even if the phone doesn't ring, even if the door doesn't open, even if the bank account still says zero, you must know it is already unfolding. You are not waiting on God, God is waiting on your certainty. The world may not echo your desires back to you right away, but this means nothing, because creation begins within. Your inner world is always the first to receive the blessing. And that's why silence outside is a signal, not of delay, but of delivery. The farmer who plants the seed does not return the next day and dig it up in worry. He waters it. He trusts the soil. He walks away in confidence. Can you do the same? When your prayers seem to return unanswered, assume they were already answered the moment they were spoken. Because God doesn't work with human time. God works in divine order, and divine order always includes your highest good. There's no need to panic, no need to rush, no need to beg. Just know, if it lives vividly in your imagination, it is already yours. If the outside is silent, let the inside roar with conviction. Walk like it's done, smile like it's yours, rest like it's already here. The silence is sacred, the stillness is holy, because when you hear nothing, that's when everything is coming. So be still, expect the impossible, and receive in peace. It is done. When it seems that nothing is happening, when the doors remain closed and the heavens seem quiet, it is easy to fall into the belief that you've been forgotten or ignored. But silence is not absence, it is preparation. It is in these quiet moments, the ones you are tempted to dismiss, where the greatest miracles are being formed. You must understand that just because you do not see movement with your physical eyes does not mean there is no movement at all. The visible is only a shadow of the invisible. Reality begins in the unseen. What you call silence is often the most sacred moment of creation. It is the divine rearranging, positioning, and aligning the right people, places, and events in ways your conscious mind cannot yet comprehend. Think of the seed planted beneath the soil. It lies in darkness. It makes no noise. There is no applause. But beneath the earth, something beautiful is unfolding. The roots stretch, the stem strengthens, and soon the first signs of life break through. That silence was not inactivity, it was preparation for life to emerge. And so it is with your desires. The moment you ask, the answer begins to form. But between the asking and the receiving is the sacred hush, the divine pause where you are not to panic, but to rest. You are not being ignored, you are being readied. All things are working together, not against you, but for you. But here's where many lose heart. They associate silence with being forgotten. They think God's quiet means God's denial. They begin to doubt, to retract their belief, to uproot what they have planted with fear. And yet, those who trust the silence understand this deeper truth, that the stillness is where strength is born. Let your imagination do the work. Let your faith take root in the unseen. Trust that what you have asked for is on its way, not because the world tells you so, but because the Spirit within has confirmed it. The silence is not the end. It is the midpoint. It is the holy ground where your desire is maturing. So when you hear nothing, feel everything. When the world is still, let your heart beat with quiet confidence. The silence is not absence, it is divine orchestration in motion. Expect more, not less, in the quiet. Because when heaven is silent, it is only because it is busy preparing your miracle. Your imagination is not a fantasy, it is the first stage of creation. What you consistently feel and see within is what is becoming real, whether or not your outer world shows any sign of it. The imagination is the blueprint, the unseen pattern from which your life is being shaped. It is the silent yet powerful evidence of what is already yours, even if your five senses are still catching up. Many people rely on external proof before they believe something is possible. They wait for confirmation from the world, through numbers, results, or the opinions of others. But creation doesn't begin on the outside, it starts within. It begins the moment you dare to believe in something no one else can see but you. When the world is quiet and reality gives no indication that things are changing, your imagination becomes your anchor. It is the inner sanctuary where your desire lives and breathes long before it takes physical form. This is not about wishful thinking, it is about living inwardly as though it were already true. When you walk by inner vision, not by sight, you are walking by faith, and faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. What are you seeing in your mind? What feelings do you nurture when you close your eyes and step into the unseen? If it is lack, fear, or worry, those emotions will find their way into your life. But if it is joy, gratitude, and certainty, your world will begin to echo those same tones. The world outside mirrors the state of your inner world. Nothing appears until it is first imagined. You may not realize it, but you are already living in a world shaped by previous imaginings, both conscious and unconscious. This is why it is vital to become intentional, to see what you want as already yours, to feel the result before it arrives. Because once something is fully accepted within, the outer must conform. It has no choice. There is no greater tool you have than your imagination. It is the invisible canvas where all things are painted before they manifest. Every invention, every breakthrough, every love story began first in someone's imagination. It is not a place of escape. It is the foundation of all creation. So when the world is quiet, when the outside says nothing is happening, turn inward. See what is unseen. Feel what is yet to be touched. Trust what your imagination shows you, because what you continually accept and embody in that sacred space is what must come alive in your world. Faith does not begin in the realm of the visible. It begins where the senses stop. When you can no longer rely on sight, sound, or touch to confirm your desire, that is the precise moment faith is born. Faith is not required when everything is going your way, when the evidence is laid out clearly before you. No, faith rises in the absence of evidence. It thrives in the unseen, the unknown, the uncertain. If you cannot see it, hear it, or touch it, good, that is your invitation to believe more deeply. When the world grows quiet and you receive no sign or confirmation, your belief must become louder than your doubt. It is in this stillness, this sensory void, that you must choose to walk by the unseen and not be led astray by appearances. The world trains us to believe only in what we can measure. But the greatest truths, the ones that change lives, are not found in data but in trust. Faith says, though I see nothing, I know it is done. Though I feel no change, I know it is moving. Though I hear no reply, I know I have been answered. This is not blind belief. It is active conviction. It is the conscious decision to align yourself with the end result before it arrives, to feel peace before the problem is solved, to live with joy before the breakthrough is visible. The world may call it foolish, but heaven calls it powerful. Many abandon their desires too soon because their senses do not support their vision. They mistake the silence for rejection. They begin to doubt what they once believed. But the one who stands firm in faith, even when the world is silent, becomes unstoppable. Because faith, when held long enough, bends reality to match the inner vision. Understand this deeply. The quieter your surroundings become, the more vital your belief becomes. You must become the voice of certainty in the midst of silence. You must speak what no one else is saying, feel what no one else dares to feel, expect what others call impossible. That is faith. So when your eyes cannot see the answer, when your ears hear nothing, when your hands touch only the same old reality, do not retreat. Step further into belief. Declare it done. Claim it with the fullness of your heart. Because faith does not ask permission from the senses. It creates what the senses cannot yet perceive. And when faith is fully alive within you, the world has no choice but to rearrange itself around your conviction. Delay is one of the greatest illusions we face when walking by faith. The human mind, trained to measure time by clocks and calendars, often interprets silence or waiting as rejection. But in the realm of the divine, there is no such thing as delay, only perfect alignment. What you call nothing is not God ignoring you. It is God arranging everything for the exact moment it must arrive. The delay is divine timing, not denial. You may not see it, but behind the stillness is a sacred orchestration. The right people, opportunities, and circumstances are being moved into position. The threads are being woven together to form something far greater than you imagine. But like a painting viewed too closely, you cannot yet see the masterpiece. You only see the blur. And so you assume nothing is happening. But God never works in haste. Divine timing is about rightness, not rush. You must begin to trust the pause. When it seems like your prayers go unanswered, understand. The answer is being prepared. What you call a delay may actually be protection. You may be asking for something your present self is not yet ready to carry. Or perhaps the people involved in your manifestation are still evolving, still being shaped to meet you in the right form. Think of the caterpillar. It does not emerge from the cocoon in minutes. It must endure darkness, stillness, isolation. But in that sacred delay, transformation is happening. Wings are forming. Beauty is becoming. If the cocoon is opened too soon, the butterfly dies. Timing is everything, and so it is with you. If you demand the blessing before it's ready, you may receive something partial, something premature. But if you trust the process, if you wait with faith rather than fear, you will witness a miracle delivered in full maturity. This is why patience is not weakness. It is power. It is the quiet strength that says, even though I see no movement, I know it's coming. You do not need to force it. You only need to remain in alignment with the end. Feel the outcome as real. Rest in the knowing that God is not late. He is exact. So the next time you feel delayed, do not despair. Instead, whisper to yourself, this is divine timing. My answer is on its way. What you call nothing is the space where everything is being arranged. And when it comes, it will not just arrive, it will arrive right on time, carrying more than you dared to ask for. There is a deep peace that comes when you finally understand this truth. You are the vessel, not the source. You were never meant to carry the burden of making everything happen. The moment you believe you must force, chase, or strive for your desires, you have stepped out of alignment with the divine flow. Creation does not require pressure, it requires surrender. The power working through you is far greater than the effort coming from you. You are not the origin of the miracle. You are simply the channel through which it is expressed. Like a lamp that shines because of the electricity flowing through it, your light is not your own doing. Your job is not to be the power, but to remain connected to it. When you realize this, all striving becomes unnecessary. You begin to live from a place of ease, knowing that what is meant for you is flowing to you, not because of your labor, but because of your alignment. This is not about passivity, it is about trust. It is about allowing yourself to receive, rather than exhausting yourself trying to control. Expect everything not because you are worthy in the eyes of the world, but because you are willing to believe. You are willing to let the divine express itself through your life, without interference, without panic, without resistance. There is no lack in the source. There is no limitation. So if the source lives in you, why would you ever doubt that your needs can be met? You only doubt when you think you must be the one to figure it all out. You only worry when you forget who is truly in control. The universe moves in precision and grace. You are part of that movement. You are the field where the seed is planted. The seed grows not because the soil tries harder, but because it allows. The soil holds the seed in stillness and faith, knowing that life will emerge through it. Let this be your posture. Rest, receive, trust. Let go of needing to chase what is already on its way. You are not here to manufacture miracles. You are here to make space for them. So release the weight of control. Expect everything, not because you're forcing it, but because it's already being done. Through your belief, your willingness, your inner stillness, the impossible is being made possible. And all you must do is remain open, because you are the vessel, not the source. And the source never fails. Once you have asked, it is done. This is the foundation of true faith, to move, speak, and live as though the prayer has already been answered. Not in some distant future, not when the signs finally appear, but now. This is not about pretending. It is about knowing that what you have asked for is already on its way, even if your physical senses have no proof to offer. Most people pray and then wait. They wait for a sign, a shift, some confirmation that they have been heard. But waiting in anxiety is not faith. It is fear wearing a spiritual mask. True expectation is quiet, confident, and unwavering. It does not beg for reassurance, because it knows the answer was given the moment the request was made. Your role is not to question how or when. It is to assume the end result, to feel the joy, the relief, the peace of your answered prayer in the present moment. Because when you do, you are not hoping for it, you are embodying it. And what you embody must be reflected in your world. You must become the sign. If you prayed for healing, carry yourself with the energy of wholeness. If you prayed for love, move as one who is already cherished. If you prayed for abundance, act as one who knows their needs are already met. This is not delusion, it is alignment. It is the bold, silent language of faith that the world cannot understand, but the universe must obey. Everything changes when you stop waiting and start walking in the reality you desire. The waiting room turns into the delivery room. Life begins to reflect back to you what you believe, not what you beg for. Stillness is your superpower. It says, I am already in possession of that which I have asked for. I have no need to chase it. I only need to continue being in harmony with it. This kind of stillness is not passive, it is powerful. It does not mean doing nothing. It means doing everything with the awareness that the prayer is fulfilled. So drop the worry. Let go of the anxiety that whispers, what if it doesn't happen? It has happened. In the unseen, it is already yours. You are not trying to attract it, you are welcoming it. Live from the end. Think from the outcome. Feel as though the prayer has already touched your life. Because once you asked, it was done. Now your only task is to believe it, feel it, and walk in it. Not tomorrow, today. Even when your world is silent, even when no signs appear, even when it feels as though heaven is quiet, expect everything. Because what you call stillness is sacred movement. What you call delay is divine timing. What you cannot hear or see is already being formed in the unseen, waiting only for your belief to align with it. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. Your faith is not wasted, it is working. And when you dare to live as though the prayer is already answered, the invisible becomes visible, the imagined becomes real, and the impossible becomes your truth. So don't retreat in the silence, rise in it. Don't doubt when nothing appears, declare that everything is already yours. Expect not with fear, but with quiet certainty. For when you hear nothing from the world, it's because heaven is working in ways you cannot yet see. And that is where the miracle lives. Thank you for listening. Thank you for opening your heart. May your faith grow stronger in the silence, and may your expectations rise higher than your fears. Everything is already unfolding for you. Now walk in peace and expect the extraordinary.